Thank you very much. You know, listening to all that, I was wondering, looking around, who's this humorous guy that's coming on? Little did I know it was me. Have you ever had a year that, you'd look back to and say, a great year in your life? Something where you sit back and you look and say, I think that was the greatest year in my life. I have one. 1993. In 1993, I lost my leg in a road accident. I was a passenger on a bus. Now, with such an event in one's life, such a huge event in one's life, it calls for major changes and drastic adjustments. So what I had to do at one point was to get rid of all my right shoes as a first step towards adjusting and reorienting my life. And in the process of doing that, I found one particular shoe that I really liked. So I picked it off the heap and I kept it. But then, as time went on, the left one wore off. So I looked at the right one, I tried it on, you're not going to believe it, and it fit. And from there on, I told myself, if your shoe fits, wear it, and wear it good. I've never looked back since then. A few years later, I'm sure you've heard this saying that lightning never strikes the same place twice. Anyone? Yeah. Well, I would like to see the man that came up with that saying, because in my case, it struck the second time. One lazy Sunday morning in 2007, I woke up and I saw my wife preparing herself for church. So I looked at her. I couldn't believe what I saw. I shook my head, and so I was smiling at her. And she looked at me and asked me, what's wrong with you? Why are you smiling like that? I said, hey, I could see two of you. That means I get to enjoy double the beauty. But my joy was short-lived. My wife was concerned. She dragged me by the ear the following week. We went to the hospital and they found that I had a brain tumor. So after 2 brain surgeries, I was left partially sighted. So at this point, I sat back and thought to myself, the first time I lost my leg, the first time I was in hospital was when I lost my leg, and the second time I was in hospital was as a result of a brain tumor. And in both cases, I never received any counseling. So I took it upon myself to study counseling and psychology. And upon completion of this study, I went to work with the Zambian National Federation of the Blind. Now this brought me into contact with people of varying disabilities at the various levels of the economic strata. What really caught me was the suffering that the people at the lowest rung of the ladder were going through. In my country, with a population of 13 million, 2%, according to the Zambia Census of Population and Housing of 2010, 2% are persons with disabilities. And of these, 52% of the people above the age of 12 are illiterate. And 60% of them are unemployed. Not because they don't want to work, but they're unemployable. So what do these people normally do? They would leave their homes, go to their favorite street corner, sit and beg for a living. One morning I was in the city, I met this lady, a blind lady, and she had a 13-year-old daughter who was her guide. So I proposed to her that she could actually go to the ministry responsible for persons with disabilities if they could form a group of 10 so that they could get a grant from government and start a sustainable way of earning an income. What she told me shocked me. She just said, look, if you don't have the money to give me, just go away. Took a few steps and turned around and said, you know, people who have money actually give, they don't talk. So with that, it was a slap in the face, and I told myself, I went home, I discussed this with my wife. Then in the night, I woke up. I looked back at my life. I grew up on a livestock farm. My parents owned a livestock farm. I've had this experience in looking after chickens, goats, pigs, cattle. And then I looked at my profession as a psychotherapist, and I felt that I could actually bring these two together and use value-added livestock production through meat processing, making the basic sausages, hams, curing several various meats. If I could use this approach, as well as my profession as a psychotherapist, would be able to offer meaningful and sustainable rehabilitation to these people with disabilities. But when I thought back to that lady, I told myself it's an uphill battle. But nothing is impossible. When I came here to Kanthari, I shared my dream with the Kanthari staff and my colleagues. They encouraged me. Initially, it was just to do livestock management. But then we brought in this approach of making sausages. Okay? Now, imagine someone who wakes up in the morning with low self-esteem, no self-belief. He goes to a place where he can learn how to do something with his life, makes these sausages, goes and sells them in the evenings, and he hears the person he sold them to in the morning telling him those sausages were delicious. Where did you buy them from? Where did you get them from? I would like to get some more. What do you think this does to someone's confidence? I don't think it will be like a bicycle pump. It will probably be like a pump at the gas station where you just inflate the tire. His confidence levels, I feel, would really go up. And that is where the dream of forming Limability Zambia came up. What we are hoping to do in addition to livestock management and meat processing is that we hope to venture into biogas production to improve the quality of life of persons with disabilities. Because in my country, it's difficult for a person with a disability to go out and fetch 5 kilometers away to fetch firewood. Not only that, it's also damaging to the environment. So we would like to protect the environment as well as improve the quality of life of this person. So we'll do this after a few years because by then we expect that our members would have gathered enough animals and to produce enough manure to use for the biogas. And as a byproduct of that, we hope that the biogas slurry will be used to re-enrich the soil, which has been spoiled by constant use of chemical fertilizers. This would also bring the cost of production down and make the disabled person a wealthier person. So what we are offering at Limability Zambia is not just economic empowerment or skills empowerment. We're also offering psychotherapeutic rehabilitation. And that can only be sustainable if it's backed up by economic empowerment. The reason that most of these people are on the streets is because they don't have a source of income. So once that is provided, we strongly feel that they'll be able to sustain their lives in a dignified way. Now, if I'm a person with a disability, I ask myself, does it make me any less a person? Or does this shoe, the right shoe on my left foot, become less a shoe because it's on the wrong foot? What I learned at Kanthari was to challenge the status quo. And challenging the status quo, to me, means that we should break out of this mode of being told or believing that as persons with disabilities, we should survive on charity. That is why my organization is going to seriously consider or seriously venture into producing sausages and processed meat as a sustainability plan. And I'm calling upon all fellow persons with disabilities to say, let us be the left foot that shapes society the right shoe. I thank you.